For every aspiring professional wrestler, reaching WWE is the ultimate dream. It's the pinnacle of sports entertainment, a global stage where legacies are forged and superstars are born. Fans watch in awe as larger-than-life characters perform incredible feats of athleticism, their every move cheered or booed by thousands in arenas and millions at home. The journey to the top is long and arduous, demanding immense sacrifice, physical toughness, and a unique charisma that connects with the audience. Many believe that once they sign that WWE contract, their future is secure, and a path to fame and fortune is laid out before them. They envision themselves holding championship gold, main eventing WrestleMania, and becoming a household name. However, the reality of a WWE career can be far more complex and unforgiving than it appears from the outside. The wrestling business is a volatile world, where a promising future can be derailed in an instant. A single bad decision, a poorly timed injury, or a controversial creative choice can completely alter a wrestler's trajectory. Backstage politics, personal demons, and the immense pressure to perform at the highest level can take a heavy toll. For some, the dream quickly transforms into a nightmare as they find themselves struggling to stay relevant, battling against forces both within and outside of their control. The bright lights of the arena can cast very long and dark shadows. This essay explores the cautionary tales of 10 individuals who once stood on the cusp of greatness in WWE, only to see their careers crumble. These are stories of immense potential that was never fully realized, of pushes that came to a screeching halt, and of dreams that were shattered. We will delve into the circumstances that led to their downfall, examining how a combination of bad luck, poor choices, and the unforgiving nature of the industry contributed to their professional crashes. Their journeys serve as a stark reminder that in the world of professional wrestling, the line between superstardom and obscurity is incredibly thin, and a fall from grace can be swift and brutal. From controversial gimmicks that became too real to personal scandals that proved impossible to overcome, each story offers a unique lesson about the fragility of fame. We will look at how these wrestlers started with so much promise, capturing the imagination of the WWE Universe, before a twist of fate or a critical misstep sent them spiraling. Their post-WWE lives are just as much a part of the story, showing the struggles and sometimes the resilience of those who have to rebuild after the spotlight fades. These are not just stories about wrestling, they are human stories about ambition, failure, and the search for a new identity after the roar of the crowd has gone silent. When Muhammad Hassan, portrayed by Mark Carpani, debuted on WWE's Monday Night Raw in late 2004, he immediately generated a level of heat rarely seen. His character was an Arab American who felt unfairly stereotyped and profiled in a post-9/11 America. He wasn't a foreign villain in the traditional sense. He was an American citizen airing legitimate grievances, which made his anti-American promos incredibly potent and, honestly, uncomfortable for audiences. Accompanied by his manager Daivari, Hassan quickly rose through the ranks, engaging in high-profile feuds with legends like Hulk Hogan, Shawn Michaels, and The Undertaker. Many insiders believed he was on a fast track to the World Heavyweight Championship, a testament to how effectively he played his controversial role. The character was designed to be provocative, and it succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. Hassan's promos were carefully crafted to blur the lines between fiction and reality, tapping into the very real anxieties and prejudices of the time. This made him one of the most hated heels in the company, a performer who could elicit a genuine, visceral reaction from any crowd he stood before. His in-ring work was solid, but it was his character work that made him a must-see act. The plan was seemingly working perfectly, and it was widely rumored that he was slated to defeat Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam 2005, a move that would have solidified him as a main event player for years to come. Unfortunately, a single, horrifyingly timed television segment brought his entire career crashing down. On the July 7th, 2005, episode of SmackDown, which was taped 3 days earlier on July 4th, a storyline angle aired in which Hassan prayed on the entrance ramp while 5 men in ski masks and camouflage pants attacked The Undertaker. They beat him down with clubs and choked him with piano wire, a brutal and shocking visual. Tragically, on the very day this pre-taped segment aired in the United States and the United Kingdom, the London bombings occurred, a series of terrorist attacks that killed 52 people. The parallels between the fictional on-screen violence and the real-world tragedy were impossible to ignore. The backlash was immediate and immense. UPN, the network that aired SmackDown, was furious and demanded that WWE remove the Muhammad Hassan character from their programming permanently. WWE had no choice but to comply. Hassan was quickly written off television, losing to The Undertaker at the Great American Bash in a match that saw him powerbombed through the stage, effectively killing off the character. He was released from his contract shortly thereafter. Mark Kopani, the man behind the gimmick, was heartbroken and left the wrestling business entirely, stating that the experience left him depressed for years. He eventually found a new, quiet life as a schoolteacher, his promising wrestling career forever defined by a moment of catastrophic timing. Ahmed Johnson burst onto the WWE scene in 1995 with an explosive presence that was impossible to ignore. Billed from Pearl River, Mississippi, he was a powerhouse of pure muscle and intensity, a legitimate physical specimen who looked like he could run through a brick wall. Fans were immediately drawn to his raw power and no-nonsense style in the ring. WWE management clearly saw a future main event star in him, and he was given a significant push right from the start. This momentum culminated in a historic victory at King of the Ring 1996, where he defeated Goldust to become the first ever African-American Intercontinental Champion. It seemed like a world championship reign was not a matter of if, but when. His initial run was filled with memorable moments, from body slamming the massive Yokozuna to aligning himself with top stars like Shawn Michaels. Johnson's intensity was his greatest asset, but it was also part of a package that proved to be volatile. His career was consistently plagued by injuries at the worst possible times. Just as he was being positioned for a WWE Championship match against Michaels, a legitimate kidney injury forced him to relinquish his Intercontinental title and put his main event aspirations on hold. This pattern of getting injured during a major push would repeat itself throughout his tenure, frustrating both fans and WWE officials who had invested so much in his ascent. Beyond the injuries, Johnson developed a reputation for being difficult to work with backstage. Numerous peers have since spoken about his stiff in-ring style, suggesting he was reckless and sometimes hurt his opponents. There were also persistent rumors about a poor attitude, which did not endear him to management or the locker room. He had a brief but notable run as a member of the Nation of Domination, but even that was cut short by yet another injury. He eventually left WWE in early 1998, later claiming that the company refused to grant him time off to be with his sister, who was battling cancer, a claim that added to the contentious nature of his departure. After leaving WWE, Johnson's career never regained its former momentum. He surfaced in rival promotion WCW in 2000 under the name Big T, where he was immediately placed in a bizarre feud with Booker T over the letter T and the rights to the Harlem Heat name. His time in WCW was widely considered a disaster. He appeared out of shape, and his matches and promos were heavily criticized. He was released from WCW within the year and largely faded from the mainstream wrestling world. Today, he remains a controversial figure, rarely appearing at WWE reunion events, a cautionary tale of how injuries and a difficult reputation can derail even the most promising of powerhouse careers. Perry Saturn was a highly respected and seasoned veteran when he arrived in WWE in early 2000. He was part of the famous group known as the Radicals, which also included Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, and Dean Malenko, who all jumped ship together from WCW. Saturn was known for his unique blend of technical skill, suplexes, and hard-hitting strikes, making him a credible and tough competitor in the ring. He found initial success alongside his fellow Radicals, and his tough-as-nails demeanor seemed to guarantee him a solid place in WWE's competitive mid-card. Fans who knew his work from ECW and WCW expected him to become a staple of the European or Hardcore Championship divisions. For over a year, Saturn enjoyed a respectable run, playing his part in various storylines and showcasing his impressive in-ring abilities. However, his career took a sharp and bizarre turn in May 2001 during a match taped for WWE's secondary show, Jacket. His opponent, a jobber named Mike Bell, botched a couple of moves, and Saturn, a known believer in protecting the business, lost his temper. He legitimately attacked Bell, tossing him out of the ring and ramming his head into the steel steps before throwing him back in and delivering a stiff kick to his head. The incident was unprofessional and dangerous, and WWE officials were reportedly furious with Saturn's lack of control. As a form of punishment, WWE saddled Saturn with a strange and seemingly career-killing gimmick. The storyline stated that the beating he gave Mike Bell had caused him to suffer head trauma. As a result, Saturn began acting erratically, spouting nonsensical phrases, and most famously, falling in love with a mop he named Moppy. He would talk to Moppy, bring it to the ring, and protect it as if it were a real person. What started as a punishment unexpectedly got over with the crowd, who found the absurdity of the gimmick highly entertaining. Chants of Moppy filled arenas, but it cemented Saturn's status as a comedy act, a far cry from the serious competitor he once was. While the Moppy gimmick was popular, it effectively ended any chance Saturn had of being perceived as a legitimate threat again. After the storyline ran its course, and his on-screen girlfriend, Terry Runnels, fed Moppy to a wood chipper, Saturn was left with little creative direction. An ACL injury in late 2002 sidelined him, and he was released from his WWE contract while recovering. His post-wrestling life was fraught with immense hardship. He battled a severe methamphetamine addiction, experienced a period of homelessness, and was shot in the neck while intervening to stop a sexual assault. After years of struggle, he has since reconnected with the wrestling world. But his career remains a story of what happens when one bad decision leads to an inescapable, albeit memorable, gimmick. Before he ever stepped foot in a WWE ring, Chris Harris was actually a bona fide star in the world of TNA, which is now known as Impact Wrestling. As one half of the legendary tag team America's Most Wanted, alongside James Storm, Harris was a multi-time NWA World Tag Team Champion, and honestly a cornerstone of the promotion. The team was incredibly popular, known for their brawling style, great chemistry, and some really compelling storylines. When Harris signed with WWE in 2008, expectations were, well, super high. Fans who followed TNA believed that WWE had picked up a proven talent who could thrive as either a singles competitor or as part of a new tag team. It really seemed like a can't-miss signing. However, his transition to WWE's ECW brand was a complete and utter disaster, pretty much from the very beginning. In a move that honestly baffled a lot of people, WWE decided to completely erase the Wildcat Chris Harris persona that had made him famous in the first place. Instead, he was repackaged as Braden Walker, which, let's be real, was a generic name that lacked any personality or connection to his past achievements. He was given bland entrance music, uninspired ring gear, and a catchphrase, "I'm Braden Walker, and I'm going to knock your brains out." That was, met with ridicule from audiences. It was clear that the creative team just didn't have any real plan or vision for him beyond filling a spot on the roster. His in-ring appearances were just as forgettable as his new character. Harris, who was actually a talented wrestler known for his dynamic style, later explained that WWE producers would constantly change his matches at the last minute, which prevented him from wrestling the way that had made him successful. His matches were short, slow, and honestly did nothing to showcase his abilities. He looked unmotivated and out of place, really just a shadow of the confident performer he had been in TNA. The Braden Walker character became a running joke among wrestling fans online, serving as a prime example of WWE's inability to successfully integrate an established star from another company. The whole Braden Walker experiment lasted less than 2 months. After just a handful of televised matches, he was abruptly released from his WWE contract in August 2008, making his run one of the shortest and most disappointing in recent memory. The failure in WWE seemed to completely shatter his confidence and honestly derail his career. He made a brief return to TNA, but he just wasn't the same performer, and the magic was gone. His story serves as a powerful cautionary tale about the importance of creative identity in wrestling, and how a company's failure to recognize a performer's strengths can, lead to a spectacular and career-altering crash. Patrick Clark, known to the world as Velveteen Dream, was once considered one of the brightest prospects in all of professional wrestling. Debuting in WWE's developmental brand, NXT, he crafted a mesmerizing and androgynous character inspired by the artist Prince. The gimmick was a masterclass in character work. Dream was flamboyant, arrogant, and utterly captivating every time he appeared on screen. His promos were poetic, his matches were theatrical, and he possessed a natural charisma that made fans believe he was destined to be a future WrestleMania main eventer. Triple H, the head of NXT, clearly saw him as a cornerstone of the brand's future, and he quickly became a fan favorite and a former NXT North American champion. The Velveteen Dream character was a huge success, a unique creation in an era of wrestling that often felt formulaic. He had a natural ability to command attention, whether through his mind games with opponents like Aleister Black and Ricochet, or his extravagant ring entrances. His in-ring psychology was years beyond his experience level, and it seemed certain that his call-up to the main roster would be a massive event. Many fans and analysts predicted that he had all the tools to become a top-tier superstar on Raw or SmackDown, with his unique persona setting him apart from everyone else on the roster. The sky was truly the limit for the young performer. However, Dream's career began to unravel in April 2020, when serious allegations surfaced against him on social media. He was accused of sending inappropriate photos to minors, a scandal that immediately cast a dark cloud over his promising future. While Velveteen Dream vehemently denied the accusations and WWE stated their own investigation found no wrongdoing, the damage to his public image was severe. The controversy coincided with the #Speaking Out movement, a period of reckoning within the wrestling industry, and fans were relentless in their calls for his dismissal. His final months in NXT were awkward, as the accusations overshadowed everything he did in the ring. Despite WWE's initial public backing, the pressure continued to mount. He was taken off television for an extended period and was eventually released in May 2021. Reports suggested that while the allegations were a major factor, his release was also due to behavioral issues and a poor attitude backstage. After his WWE exit, his life spiraled further with multiple arrests and legal troubles, making him a public relations nightmare that other promotions were hesitant to touch. The story of Velveteen Dream is a tragic tale of how quickly a can't-miss prospect can fall, a career shattered not by in-ring failure, but by serious off-screen allegations and personal conduct that made him too toxic to employ. In 2005, WWE introduced Chris Masters to the world as the Masterpiece. His gimmick was simple but effective. He had a physique that looked like it was chiseled from stone, and he claimed that no one could break his signature submission hold, the Master Lock. The Master Lock Challenge became a weekly staple on Monday Night Raw, where Masters would offer a cash prize to any fan or wrestler who could escape his full Nelson. This gimmick got him over as a dominant and arrogant heel, and his incredible physical presence made him an instant standout. WWE quickly pushed him into the main event scene, where he challenged top stars like John Cena and Shawn Michaels for the WWE Championship. Masters had all the physical tools that WWE typically looks for in a top star. He was tall, incredibly muscular, and had a marketable look. His push was strong and consistent for over a year, and it appeared that he was being groomed for a lengthy career at the top of the card. While his in-ring skills were still developing, his character work was solid, and the Master Lock Challenge provided a reliable way to get heat from the crowd. He seemed destined to hold a major championship, but his momentum came to a sudden halt when he became one of the first high-profile victims of WWE's newly implemented talent wellness policy. In 2007, Masters was suspended for his first violation of the wellness policy, a program designed to test for performance-enhancing drugs and other substances. The suspension immediately took him out of major storylines. When he returned, he had noticeably lost a significant amount of muscle mass, which was a core part of his masterpiece gimmick. Without his superhuman physique, the character lost much of its mystique. Later that year, he was suspended for a second violation and was subsequently released from the company. His reliance on substances to maintain his look had directly led to the downfall of his career. Masters made a return to WWE in 2009, this time with a more natural physique and improved in-ring work. He even had a brief run as a babyface, where he would make his pectoral muscles dance to the beat of his music, which got over with the crowd. However, he was never able to regain the main event status he once held. He was relegated to the mid-card and eventually released again in 2011. Since then, Chris Masters has continued to wrestle on the independent circuit and for promotions like the NWA, where he has been praised for his professionalism and vastly improved skills. His story is a classic example of how the pressure to look a certain way can lead to choices that ultimately sabotage a promising career. When Vladimir Kozlov, portrayed by Oleg Prudius, made his WWE debut in 2008, He was presented as an unstoppable force from Moscow. He was an imposing figure with a legitimate background in combat sports like sambo and kickboxing, which added to his aura of authenticity. WE gave him a monster push right out of the gate, having him destroy a series of local competitors without even using entrance music, emphasizing his cold and methodical nature. He was kept undefeated for months and was quickly elevated to the main event scene, earning clean pinfall victories over established stars like The Undertaker. By the end of the year, he was challenging for the WWE Championship at Survivor Series. The push was a classic WWE strategy for building a new monster heel. Kozlov had a unique look and a credible background, and the company invested heavily in making him seem like a legitimate threat to the top champions. However, the limitations in his character and in-ring performance quickly became apparent. His wrestling style was slow and plodding, relying heavily on basic power moves that failed to excite the audience. Furthermore, his stoic, non-speaking character lacked the charisma needed to connect with fans on a deeper level, whether as a heel to be hated or a force to be feared. His main event match at Survivor Series 2008 was widely panned by critics and fans as boring. After the failure of his main event push, WE seemed to lose faith in Kozlov as a top-tier singles competitor. He was moved from SmackDown to the ECW brand, which was seen as a significant demotion. It was there, however, that his career took an unexpected turn. He was paired with Santino Marella, one of the company's most beloved comedy acts, and the two formed an unlikely but highly entertaining tag team. Kozlov's serious, stoic demeanor provided the perfect contrast to Santino's goofy antics. This new role as a comedic straight man allowed him to show a different side of his personality, and the duo even captured the WWE Tag Team Championship. While he found success in the tag team division, it was a far cry from the unstoppable monster he was initially meant to be. The comedy gimmick, while popular, effectively ended any chance of him returning to the main event scene. Once his partnership with Santino ran its course, there was little creative direction left for him, and he was released from his WWE contract in 2011. Since leaving wrestling, Oleg Prudius has successfully transitioned into an acting and stuntman career, appearing in films like John Wick Chapter 2 and The Fate of the Furious. His WWE journey is a prime example of how a performer, despite having the look, can fail to connect in their intended role, finding success only after a complete character overhaul. The stories of these 10 wrestlers serve as powerful and often tragic reminders of the precarious nature of fame in the world of WWE. For every superstar who reaches the summit and enjoys a long, celebrated career, there are countless others whose dreams are dashed by a cruel twist of fate, a single bad decision, or the unforgiving realities of the business. The journeys of Muhammad Hassan, Ahmed Johnson, and others highlight a common thread. Potential, no matter how immense, is never a guarantee of success. The path to stardom is littered with obstacles, both seen and unseen, and navigating them requires not just talent, but also luck, timing, and a strong sense of self-awareness. One of the most significant lessons from these cautionary tales is the profound impact of choices made outside the ring. For figures like Velveteen Dream and Chris Masters, their careers were not derailed by a lack of talent, but by personal conduct and decisions that made them liabilities. It underscores the reality that modern superstars live under a constant microscope, where their public image and private behavior are as crucial to their success as their in-ring ability. Similarly, the story of Perry Saturn shows how a momentary lapse in professional judgment can have bizarre and career-altering consequences, forever changing how a performer is perceived by both the company and the fans. Furthermore, these narratives reveal the immense power that creative control and timing hold over a wrestler's destiny. Muhammad Hassan's career was extinguished by a real-world tragedy that was completely beyond his control, a case of being the right character at the absolute wrong time. Braden Walker's failure, on the other hand, was a direct result of the company stripping away the very identity that had made him a star elsewhere. These examples demonstrate that even the most talented performers are often at the mercy of the creative whims and external circumstances that shape their on-screen personas, and a bad gimmick or unfortunate timing can be an insurmountable hurdle. In the end, these stories are more than just chronicles of failed wrestling careers. They are human dramas about ambition, pressure, and resilience. They remind us that behind the larger-than-life characters are real people navigating a high-stakes, high-pressure environment. While some faded into obscurity, Others, like Vladimir Kozlov and Mark Kopani, found new purpose and success outside the wrestling bubble, proving that a career crash does not have to be the end of the story. The echoes from the canvas teach us that while the spotlight of WWE can be glorious, it can also be fleeting, and the true measure of a person is often found in how they rebuild after the lights go down and the crowd goes home.